Myself, Harva Prasad Damarla, a retired Deputy General Manager from BSNL and ex-Adjunct Professor, EC Department, PSCMR College of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. In the earlier session, we were discussing about the interference in mobile communication. There are two types of interferences. One is co-channel interference, the other one is adjacent channel interference. We have already discussed about the effect of co-channel interference. Now we will discuss about the adjacent channel interference. Interference resulting from the signals of the adjacent frequency to the desired signal is called adjacent channel interference. Adjacent channel interference results from imperfect receiver filters which allow nearby frequencies to leak into the passband. The problem is more serious if an adjacent channel user is transmitting in very close range to a subscriber's receiver. This I will try to explain in this small example. There are two users who are connected to the same base station and they are nearer to each other. And A is speaking through his mobile and B is also speaking. And they are using two adjacent channels. If A is using a channel frequency, say F1, B is using F2. Because they are adjacent channels, due to imperfect filter of B, the signal of A may interfere with B or vice versa. This is known as adjacent channel interference. Alternatively, when a mobile close to a base station transmits on a channel close to one being used by a weak mobile, then the base station may have difficulty in discriminating the desired mobile user from the bleed over caused by the close adjacent channel mobiles. So once again, let us see one analogy. So there are two users, A and B. Both are connected to the same base station. A is a little bit away from base station and B is nearer to the base station. Since A is far away, the signal strength of A with respect to the signal strength of B that is reaching the base station is relatively low. That means the signal strength of B, which is near to base station, is high. Then there is a possibility of the signal of B is leaked into the signal of A. So this is another way of interpreting adjacent channel interference. Further, we will continue with our discussion on adjacent channel interference. A given cell base station uses number of radio frequency channels. Each base station will have a number of radio channels may be having 3, 6, or 9, or 12 like that. The imperfection of receiver filters allows nearby frequencies to leak into the passband. This leakage of adjacent RF channels is known as adjacent channel interference. The ACI can be reduced by keeping the frequency separations between each radio frequency channel in a given cell as large as possible. So this we will see with the example on the right side. A channel separation by selecting RF frequencies which are 6 channels apart is sufficient to keep adjacent channel interferences within the tolerable limits. Let us take one base station, for example, base station 1, which is using a frequency set. Okay, there are 6 frequencies allotted to that base station. So what I am doing for base station 1, I am selecting in series frequency 1, frequency 7, frequency 13, frequency 19, frequency 26, 25, and frequency 31. I did not select for the same base station frequency 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. So I have maintained a separation between 2 adjacent channels. If the frequency of one channel is frequency number 1, the second channel is frequency number 7. So there is a gap of 6. So this is how we can minimize the adjacent channel interference. Here also you see 7 and 13. There is a gap. There is a gap like this. In all base stations, it is selected in the similar fashion to reduce the adjacent channel interference. This can be further understood in a clear manner from the next slide. Now here I have given the actual frequencies in 900 megahertz. So base station 1, the frequency set I designated as A. So here what are the frequencies I have used? First frequency 892.2. I did not use the next frequency 892.4 or 892.6. I have maintained a separation and I have used the next frequency as 893.6. Another frequency 895.0, 896.4, 897.8, 899.2. So everywhere there is a reasonable separation between the adjacent channels. So by maintaining the frequency separation as large as possible will reduce the adjacent channel interference in the same base station. Then we will look into what is the meaning of pico, micro, and macro cells. Pico cells. So the diameter of the pico cells is up to say 20 to 50 meters maximum, and they are deployed in densely populated areas like for indoor coverage in a shopping mall like that. So the maximum radius can be up to 50 meters. So where the users are densely populated in a small diameter of the cell. Then comes a bigger cell which is known as micro cell. Here the diameter, 2 kilometer diameter as the maximum size, and they generally deployed in urban areas. In cities, generally we use micro cells. the maximum diameter can be in the order of 2 kilometers. They are used for urban areas in cities and towns where the usage or population is more in a unit area. Then next bigger cell is known as macro cell. So the diameter of the cell is more than 2 kilometers. Generally, their macro cells are used in rural areas, underdeveloped areas, because the number of users are very less, and we can reduce the number of cell sites by deploying the macro cells. So it can cover more than 2 kilometers. Okay. Then we have another concept, how to improve cellular coverage as well as the capacity. So we have to improve the coverage, and at the same time the capacity also is to be increased. As the demand for wireless services increases, the number of channels allocated to a cell eventually becomes insufficient to support the required number of users. Let us assume for a base station you have allocated 3 radio channels in the initial stages when the mobile communication was not so popular and the mobile users are very less. Those 3 channels may be sufficient at that time to address the traffic needs. But in due course of time, what happened? The number of users have become more and more due to extensive usage of mobiles, and also simultaneously population also has increased. So at that time, so the number of channels originally allocated 3 channels in our example, they are not sufficient. So what is to be done? At this point, cellular design techniques are needed to allow more channels per unit coverage. So we have to increase the number of channels. The following techniques are used to increase the capacity of the cellular system. So one way we can increase the channels, but there is some limitation how to increase the channels, because the spectrum also is limited. So you may not be having still more number of unused frequencies at his disposal for a telecom service provider. So we adopt different techniques to improve the capacity of the cellular system. There are 4 techniques by which we can increase the coverage as well as the capacity. One is cell splitting. The second one is sectorization. Then coverage zone approaches by means of repeaters for range extension. Then micro cell concept. So we will try to discuss one after the other these 4 techniques for improving the cellular coverage and capacity. One is cell splitting. First we will discuss about cell splitting concept. Cell splitting is the process of subdividing a congested cell into smaller cells with its own base station and a corresponding decreasing in antenna heights and transmitted power. By introducing new cells which have a smaller radius than the original cells, and by installing these smaller cells called microcells, between the existing cells, capacity is increased due to additional number of channels per unit area. If you can see this diagram, so originally all cells are designed with this diameter or radius like this, like this, like this. So in this area, there is an increase in the cellular service demand. So it is densely populated and more number of users they want this mobile service. Here if you can see, still more densely populated, like shopping malls, marketplaces, or bus stations, railway stations, like this. So what here it is done, the size of the cell size, the radius or the diameter of the cell is reduced, and the height of the antenna is also reduced to that extent. So that, and each base station will have its own radio carriers. So it has to cover less area when compared to the earlier case. So therefore, the capacity can be increased because per unit area, the number of cells are increased. Maybe instead of one or two, now we are having nearly 6 cells. So this is another scenario where it is further, where the number of towers are further or base stations are further increased because it is still more densely populated and the users are still more when compared to this scenario. So this is how the cell splitting helps in increasing the coverage as well as the capacity. The same concept we will see with some other diagram which may be more clear for easy understanding. Now let us see, let us assume there are 4 cell sites of equal coverage area. This is the initial setup. Let us assume it is one important road in a city or town. So subsequently what happened, in between this cell 2 and cell 3, some requirement has increased. That means some new buildings would have come, some multiplexes would have come, some shopping complexes would have come, or some bus station or railway station would have come. So whatever it is, the requirement of the cellular usage has increased. So what they did, instead of 2 mobile base stations, we have doubled to 4. And at the same time, we have reduced the coverage area by reducing the height of the antenna. So each will have the same number of channels, say 6 for all. Let us assume earlier here 6 channels are there, here 6 channels are there. So totally only 12 carriers are available in this zone. Now for the same zone, you are having 24 carriers because you have 4 base stations. So it is, the capacity is doubled in terms of radio frequency, and accordingly it can give better coverage as well as it can increase the capacity. The same thing is explained here. When the number of users reaches saturation in a startup cell, initially developed cell, initial design, and no more spare frequency is available, then the startup cell is split into smaller cells, and therefore more number of subscribers can be served, as we have seen. So in this slide, we will discuss about the advantages of cell splitting as well as the disadvantages of cell splitting. Advantages: number of channels per unit area increases, as we have seen in the earlier. Instead of 12 carriers, so in the given unit area, now we have 24 carriers. So number of channels per unit area has increased. System capacity is increased because instead of 12 carriers, we have 24 carriers. Therefore, the number of users it can tackle in the same area is doubled. The antenna height is reduced. We need not have the more or normal height of the antenna. So you can reduce the tower height and antenna height. Transmitter power is reduced or minimized because the area to be covered by cell splitting is minimized, reduced. Therefore, you can reduce the power of the radio transmitter. These are the advantages. On the other side, some of the negative aspects are furnished below. Number of base stations increases because instead of 2 base stations in the earlier example, I have installed 4 base stations. Overall cost of the system increases. So suppose let us assume each base station with its associated equipment and other infrastructure costs me, say for example, some 30 lakhs. So for 2 base stations, I was spending 60 lakhs. Now instead of 2 base stations, what I did, I have doubled 4 base stations. Now the total cost has become, instead of 60 lakhs, now it is 120 lakhs. So 1 crore 20 lakhs. That means the overall cost is increased. This is the negative side of the cell splitting. Now we will look into the other aspect of improving the cell coverage and capacity. Omnidirectional antenna traffic handling capacity is less and therefore they are not preferred in the practical scenario. Only for theory and understanding purpose, we take omnidirectional antenna as reference, but in practice, so each tower will have more than one directional antenna. Generally, 3 antennas will be there, 3 directional antennas, each covering theoretically 120 degrees. Of course, it is practically, it is less. So anyhow, that is beyond the scope of our discussion. In order to use the cluster size n is equal to 7 or lower, directional antennas are used in every cell site. When compared to omnidirectional antennas, directional antennas can radiate the signal to longer distances. A cell having 3 sectors is very popular and common in practical systems. As you also know the theory of antennas and directional antennas. However, just I will give one layman example. If you take a torch and focus it towards the sky, the light will spread in a circular path, and the area it can cover, the light can appear in smaller area. That means the coverage is in smaller area. Instead, if you point your torch to a particular direction, so it reaches to a longer distance. So that is called directional antenna. That means you are able to provide cellular coverage for longer distances. So that is one layman concept, what we can, or analogy for understanding. Further, we will discuss about the sectoring. Sectoring is basically a technique which can increase the SIR, signal to interference ratio. By adopting this sectorization, you can improve the signal to interference ratio without initiating an increase in the cluster size. Without increasing the cluster size, the SIR can be signal to interference, can be increased. Okay, the interference effect can be reduced. So far, it is assumed that base station is located in the center of the cell and radiates uniformly in all directions, behave like an omnidirectional antenna. So we have assumed so far it is as omnidirectional antenna radiating in all directions, 360 degrees. However, it has been found that the co-channel interference can be decreased by replacing a single omnidirectional antenna at the base station by several directional antennas, each radiating within a specified sector. Here you see, instead of here omnidirectional antenna radiating in all directions. Here what they did, they made into three sectors, three antennas, directional antennas they have mounted on the tower. So each will take care of theoretically 120 degrees. So entire 360 degrees it is covered. So it improves the co-channel interference aspect. That means it will reduce the co-channel interference. So that is very much desirable. Earlier we have seen a three-sector scenario. Here in this example you can see more than three sectors also it is possible. You can have 6 directional antennas on one tower for a base station. So here we will study about the 6-sector deployment. In the earlier slide, we have seen the deployment of 3-sector in place of omnidirectional antenna to improve the coverage and capacity. In a thickly populated area, further improvements can be made by increasing the sector antenna to 6. The same is depicted in the adjacent figure. So you can, instead of 3 directional antennas, now you can have 6 also. 6 means each will theoretically cover 60 degrees. Entire 360 degrees coverage is there. So now further the capacity is augmented and coverage also improved. Now we will see the advantages and disadvantages of sectoring. First, advantages. Sectoring reduces the co-channel interference within a system. That is one advantage. The second advantage is it increases the capacity by increasing the signal to interference ratio, and cell radius gets unchanged without changing the radius of the cell or dia of the cell. So you can improve the capacity because the sectorization improves the signal to interference ratio. Now the negative aspects, instead of telling disadvantage, I can say the negative aspects. Number of antennas per cell gets increased. So instead of 1 antenna, omnidirectional antenna, I should have 3 or 6. More the antennas, more the cost. Trunking efficiency decreases due to co-channel sectoring at the base station. This is because the available trunked channel pool is split into several small pools. This I will try to explain about the decrease of trunking efficiency. What I mean to say, suppose you are having 6 radio channels for a base station. So if you are using omnidirectional antenna, all these 6 channels are available for that omnidirectional antenna. Now, if you go for sectorization, if you sector into 3 parts, so you have to divide the available 6 radio channels among the 3 sectors. For each directional antenna, say for example, I have to provide two channels only. In each sector, I will have 2 channels only. Therefore, it decreases the trunking efficiency. The number of channels available for each antenna has come down to 2. So thereby this trunking efficiency is decreased. That is how they perceive this concept. Sectoring makes handoff or handover more typical because of mobiles crossing the sectors within the base station. So let us assume you are moving within the same base station. Let us assume you are not going to some other base station area. Still you are in the same base station area, but you are moving. It so happens while speaking, you may cross sector 1 to sector 2, sector 2 to sector 3 within the same base station. So every time when you change the sector from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1, so the handover process has to take place between the sectors. So it will increase the load on your network for handoff activity. This is another negative aspect as far as sectoring is concerned. Now you can see some example. This is the omnidirectional antenna. Here you see 1, 2, 3. So 3 sector sites. So 3 antennas are there. So this is about the sectorization. So thank you. Further, other 2 techniques we will discuss in our next lecture.